war returned home to establish families, work, and live ordinary lives. Of course, they had their demons and their nightmares, and many of them fought lonely battles in the dark against these demons the rest of their lives. Some, like Tommy Welch, couldn't find the adrenaline rush of combat in any other activity and never fully adjusted to civilian life. But it is amazing how many of the greatest generation did. Torrey's book is a great tribute to the men of the 601st Tank Destroyer Battalion, men who served well in battle and helped win World War II. It is a reminder to all listeners that war brings out not only the worst, but also the best in men. Most of all, it reminds us war is a very human endeavor, and American Nights admirably portrays the men of the 601st. Not saints, not sinners, just ordinary men serving honorably and sometimes doing the extraordinary under tremendously difficult circumstances. Tim Stoy, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army, retired. Springfield, Virginia, September 2014. Lieutenant Colonel Stoy is a graduate of the U.S. Military Academy at West Point and a 30-year veteran of the U.S. Army. He and his wife Monica, Captain, U.S. Army retired, reside in Springfield, Virginia when they are not traveling to Europe and Korea to place plaques to honor U.S. forces. Forward. Colonel Lars Larson, U.S. Army retired. As the second decade of the 21st century continues, participants and witnesses to the events of World War II are quickly disappearing. Many, even now, have remained silent on their roles and personal experiences of the traumatic period that shaped their lives and changed the course of history. Growing up, I was surrounded by heroes, often not aware of them or their deeds until reading their obituaries. At an early age, I learned my favorite uncle, Rudolph Rudy Larson, had been wounded in combat while serving in Europe. Years later, when telling him of my impending reassignment to Germany to the 3rd Infantry Division as an infantry officer, he remarked, "I served with them once." Nothing more. Over time, I learned a bit more of Rudy's military service. He had been with a Tank Destroyer Battalion, and his unit wore an interesting shoulder patch. Rudy enjoyed life, was a jokester and incessant pipe smoker who did not speak of his many months in combat. This constant teaser and upbeat veteran of World War II had a distinguished record of service and combat experiences that were nearly lost to history. Upon his death, and without immediate heirs, my father obtained and saved his brother's letters, photos, and military items. Only more recently were they rediscovered with my father's memorabilia. An interest in this collection led to trying to learn more of Rudy's service and the circumstances of his wounding. This book presents the personal accounts of the men, their combat experiences and campaigns from the soldiers who daily lived with fear, personal losses, and hardships that were only shared with their comrades and their close family members. Letters served as the almost exclusive means to communicate between families whose service members were often overseas for years, facing uncertain futures and hoping to return home safely. In an age before copy machines, letters were passed to others or were retyped to be circulated amongst family members, some serving elsewhere around the globe. Rudy's letters written to my father were full of lessons learned. They were obviously deemed important to both men as my father was preparing to deploy to Europe with a tank division. In these letters, Rudy described combat engagements without glamour or bravado, simply as they happened without exaggeration. These were the often vivid accounts of events and were remarkable in clarity as he tried to describe his world to those who had not experienced war.